If we wanted to fix this problem, what are the kinds of ways that you and the rest of the panel could imagine that we would fix it, that we would come up with a flexible remuneration model?
Oh, I mean, I really hate to say it because I know how irritating it is, but it's a case of, I'm going to regret saying this, but you kind of need to get the finance guys in the room pretty early on, and you really have to have an understanding of all the potential methods that like I totally understand your point, Aaron, that yes, some things are a service, but you know, you package a service up in the right way, and it's a purchasable product at the end of the day. Like, depending on how it's less about how you classify, it's more about how you talk about it, in that the revenue model isn't fixed. Like, the method that you bill for it could be, again, anything, whether that's from revenue sharing with your client and kind of really getting in bed and putting your money behind your mouth and saying, if it's not successful, then we've clearly not provided you with the service that you enlisted us for. It might be going, hey, you know, licensing, whether it's software, whether it's licensing creative, whether it's, you know, taking co-joined risks. Like, obviously it's a bit more relevant in the digital world from a pure product perspective, but a lot of those models can work from a service-based perspective as well. We don't all have to build like lawyers.
As a new agency, are you building different models?
I mean, we're trying you know, we have the benefit of being, you know, knee-high to a grasshopper, so we get to try out all kinds of stuff and nobody finds out about our failures. So that's fantastic. But I mean, yeah, we've tried stuff from, you know, revenue sharing with clients, where it's quite literally a X% of your revenue that's generated from this will come to us, and that's the reimbursement, to value-based contracting, to licensing IP. And different ones have different successes based both on the product and the quality of the product we produce and the creative, as well as the client themselves and how open they are to it. Some clients get really panicky and go, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't want to go down this path anymore, even though you're halfway down it. Others are like, yeah, let's see where it goes.
Clive, no matter how much process, no matter how much service, no matter how much technology is involved in marketing, in the end, a lot of it is the lightning strike idea, the lightning strike creativity. How do you monetize or price that?
I think to Aaron's point, it's very hard to. Although I think Droga 5 charges 250 grand.
Per idea?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go.
So yeah, well, I mean, we as a business don't look to make. I mean, we charge head hours for ideas, and we do a lot of research. You know, put science to things through social listening and social behaviours before we actually deliver an idea. But the remuneration is just head hours. But punctuating that point, I think the title, I'm just staring down at this, says The Agency of Now. I've heard Rowena talk about that it's about what's next and what is the unknown. So we're dealing with the future is now, and that's changing fast. That's what this conference is about. But it's what's around the corner that we don't know yet, and that's just around the corner. So how are you going to be able to deal with that? And to another point Rowena made recently is that it's the skills that agencies don't have at this point. So it could be, I mean, I'm not sure what the example might be, whether it's we need to hire a psychologist, or it could be anything that we don't quite know about yet that actually deals with human behaviour. It's not that far out, and Adam Ferrier has obviously built a great reputation for that. But I think the agency of now, one aspect of it is partnering with your clients, which is what Damien's spoken about. And we've recently put in people within our clients' business, which is not new, but so we manage their digital, we manage some of their digital buying, we manage their content creation, and soon that will evolve into many other things. So basically, we have a bunch of our people within our office in their own little area they're called that client's particular staff, but we're loaning them our IP and our learnings across the business, and that's a new, I would call it, entrepreneurial way to create the agency of now. So you're not in separate buildings, it's a true partnership. You get to know all their stakeholders, have a great relationship with corporate affairs, who are pains in the arse generally. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly another way to create a new model to work with, agencies and clients.
Rowena, let's just talk about that model for a second. From the client's perspective, or from not necessarily yours, but other clients that you would be aware of, and I presume you have lunch and occasionally chat about what annoys you about agencies. What would you recalibrate, or what do you think clients would want to recalibrate in the agencies that they deal with? What would they change?
For me, agencies are not about brands, it's about the people who work on your business. And, so the experience is very much around the individuals. So I can't really give an absolute answer to what you're asking. I do think the opportunity is to make sure you have the right blend of people. And kind of when I step back and I work across all the markets in Asia, so there's about 400 or 500 different marketing teams, and within that all their agencies. The thing I see consistently is that you need to have the right blend of people who've got more people leadership, strategic and thinking skills, who can come together with the right, partners and actually say, here's how the whole plan works. Here's your business challenge, here's the overall solution, and here are all the parts within it. And then you need to be able to have the people who can execute and really make that happen. And I think when we get that balance wrong, when we either go, for whatever reason, whether it's remuneration or whatever, we go straight to the execution, then we miss this part up here, and that's often when things spin. If we only have this part up here, but we don't have the great executors, then it was great on paper, but actually it didn't happen in market and it didn't drive our business. So for me, it's getting the right level. And I think also that what's even more important today, because of the complexity and because of the number of people, is people leadership skills. So often we talk about, does someone have, media expertise or social expertise or what expertise? But when you're coordinating, across so many different groups, you actually need someone who may not be an expert but understands the spectrum, but they're great people leaders. And they're the ones who can really take those ideas, get the right buy-in internally, get the right buy-in across partners, and then help to make sure that it cascades through to the execution.
And how often do you see those people in the agencies?
They're hard to find, and usually they're in demand. So, I think we can all, kind of sense when you have those people. I think McKinsey coined them as T-shaped people. Those people who can really kind of go across with a broad perspective, but also understand how to drive things down in a vertical way. But if you don't have those people, then I think in this world we have, with the complexity and all the touch points and the different choices, then you can end up with stuff rather than great ideas that really build brands.
So if we're building the agency of now, if we were to set out to build one, we'd start with people with great people skills. We might pick up the idea of putting people, actually embedding people into client side. We would look for a different remuneration model, or a more flexible remuneration model. What else would we do, Damien? Let's build it.
Let's build it, yeah. Done. No, I completely agree, I guess, with most of the stuff that's been said. There's so many ways you could build it, though, that it's kind of a hard question to kind of answer.
But everybody,
what would you do?
Everybody builds. I'm on the outside of this industry, but from where I sit, it looks like everybody builds on we're a digital agency, or we're a social agency,
exactly.
Or people want to. It seems to be incredibly specialised. And I guess what I'd be asking is, in breaking everything down into tiny little specialities, are we missing the point here?
Absolutely. And I mean, the way we've always viewed it is a principle we kind of adopted from a really great agency that I used to work at, and Aaron used to work at as well, BMF, who had this really interesting model that we kind of adapted. And the basic idea is kind of reinterpreted from an age-old discipline of building buildings. There's 3 phases to it. You need good engineers who understand how the thing stands up. You need good architects who make sure that it actually is what it's meant to be. And you need really good builders to pull it off. And a project manager to make sure that the whole thing happens on time and on budget, right? So that process hasn't changed in 2,500, 3,000 years. Like since the pyramids, that process has more or less been the same. And so we find that working on the engineering and the architecture side of it and finding really good builders is really good, because then when Rowena comes along and she needs someone to help her with something that isn't technically a digital skill set, is you can go and pull someone in from a journalistic background who may never have stepped a foot in an agency in her life. Or you might go pull an industrial designer who would never think about going to an ad agency. Or you might pull a really good development engineer who's got his own startup and doesn't like agencies, but are willing to work on these individual projects and these individual pieces of work. It's that flexibility that you need.